Calma os 5 biscoitinhos aqui, você faz, você dá pra gente. Okay, so we're live. I don't expect people to see this. They can see you, you know. Yeah. Hey, this is my wife, Lorena. So, this is a bit of an odd thing. I don't intend on doing this a lot, but also we haven't had English speaking live for a while, so I might as well. And also I'm a little heartbroken right now because, not because of her, but because I just read about Linkara leaving Channel Awesome. If you are I'm just gonna ramble some stuff here. I just need to vent a bit about all of this. I've been thinking about the topic for a while because of Rurouni Kenshin's, or Samurai X's creator, the news that he had pedophile material there, and I don't remember if it was videos. I think it was videos, but it might have been photos or whatever. It doesn't matter. It kind of raised the topic of, should you support the art of bad people? And at that moment I was easily in favor of still supporting the art, because I thought to myself, hey, you don't really contribute to that anymore. He's going to be in jail, he's not going to get the money. The people who get the money are not going to allow him to go near anything like that, if they are decent at all. So and it was a far issue for me. It's like, I'll be honest, it's not very easy to see the people who are victimized there, because it's on the other side of the world, and it's a piece of art that's been around for a while. It's been, I don't know, 20 years since Samurai X. I can even rationalize in my head that probably the guy who created that wasn't the same guy who was caught with the child pornography, because maybe he developed this later. Maybe he controlled himself better and he just made a mistake of not seeking help, because he obviously should have. But I kind of have been I've been on the way here kind of thinking all this through, and there is no difference between that and what I came to read on the way here, a little before I taught my class today and on the way here, which is that Channel Awesome apparently was a crap hole. I don't want to say a shit hole, but I just did. Basically, since the beginning, for those who don't know, maybe you don't know, I didn't know all of this, all of it at least. I knew some. Doug Walker had a company, a website, whatever, called That Guy with the Glasses. So that guy with the glasses was kind of a hub for reviewers. Somewhere, somehow, that became Channel Awesome, and I thought, was literally the case. It was just Doug Walker expanding and rebranding or something. No, it's a different company, a mother company to a bunch of other people as well. One of the things that it's a big complaint, and obviously it's enough for you to not support Channel Awesome, is that there is a focus on keeping the nostalgia critic as a centerpiece. Not just that, but rather, this works, we want this to keep working, rather than using this works to get viewers for the other people. Which, again, I'll be honest, in my experience it was what happened. This is very much a conflict for me, because Doug Walker and Rob Walker were inspirations for me. I've been a reviewer for a little over 3 years, and it really pains me to say I am conflicted about watching their reviews now. It was a thing that I was very eager to do. I wanted to watch their reviews, but now they seemingly everybody seems to agree on that, or almost everybody seems to agree on that they pretended not to know what was happening. They were let me get some water here, because I'm a hypertensive diabetic. I need water anyways, and if I'm talking, more so. I'll make a shorter version of this and leave on the channel. If anybody ever wants to watch this, it's just a guy venting, but it's the internet. Maybe you find me interesting. I hope you do, because I hope this channel will turn out to be okay. But while for a good long time the only way somebody could ever expect to be famous and get some people to follow them was to be a part of a group, now it really seems like you cannot trust to be a part of a group right now. And Linkara himself says, oh, but there's potential there. There is potential, but unless everybody is an equal partner and they decide that the next people who are going to work there are going to be equal partners too, and everybody gets paid the same, and everybody wants success, and so on and so forth, some sort of thing like this, it's not going to work. I've been thinking so many things, because hello multiplayer, what's happened? The Linkara left Channel Awesome, and I'll get back to this. It seems that there have been problems there since the beginning. Okay, they started a company, they got the Nostalgia Critic and a bunch of other people, and everybody complains that Nostalgia Critic gets all the attention, literally to the point of other people not even getting enough reference in the website, people not being able to find information about the other people. And I can kind of see this as a strategy if it was a little different. What happened in my case, I was going to tell, was that I found out about the Nostalgia Critic. I watched every one of those reviews. I still find them interesting, and it's kind of conflicting to say that, because I know now that apparently not only they knew there were problems, them, I mean him and his brother, Rob Walker is a cameraman at times and a writer in the Nostalgia Critic. He's fully credited there in the end. And they were an inspiration for me. And I watched every one of those videos. I kinda am curious about the next one, the one that was posted on their channel, on their website already. But I feel conflicted, because these are guys who knew something bad was happening. They had to know, they were close to it, and did nothing and pretended not to do anything. At the same time, while they were responsible, yeah, Doug more than Rob at this, I believe, but still Rob had some responsibility apparently, they were sexist in their writing, which is a matter for interpretation to a point, yes, but hey, come here, oh, be on the live with me, Sarah. Cutie. Yeah, she was climbing on the sofa. They were sexist on their writing, which can be an interpretive thing, but they seem to really want, for instance, they seem to have fought over keeping a rape scene, basically. It was a joke that somebody, one of the women, Lindsay, I believe, Lindsay Ellis's character, was going to be raped by a mind-controlled Todd and Shadows. So this was in a... Who is this Linkara? He's a comic book reviewer I'm a big fan of, and he was one of the key players in that guy in Channel Awesome. That is to say, also they retired the Nostalgia Critic character in the end of that movie, but apparently he didn't tell anybody. So the centerpiece of the website was gone and nobody knew about it, which is kind of a dickish move in any way, shape or form. I don't know what could have been in his mind, so I can't say it's absolutely bad. Maybe there's some justification, but it's bad either way. Even if you have one, it is bad. It's one of those, your American subscribers is, I know, but that's what I'm talking about. There's no point in discussing this in Portuguese. Nobody's going to care in Brazil. No, you don't know even who Linkara is. But so, Channel Awesome is this big, gigantic thing for reviewers. There's a ton of reviewers. There's like 4 comic book reviewers now after Linkara left. So, it's a place you can go to find reviewers out. It's find out who does reviews, whose styles you like, and so on and so forth. The guy just left, and he talked about in his exist bad reviewers. There are bad reviewers, yes, no question. Like, I never cared for Angry Joe. Okay, I tried to get into him, I tried to watch a couple of his videos. It was not for me. His whole thing of I am going to be angry and verbose didn't really work. And mind you, Linkara does pretty much the same. He is hyperbolic, but he seems legit, and Angry Joe doesn't, at least for me. But the point is this: from the start there were problems. Doug and Rob Walker apparently always knew there were problems. They supposedly wrote this rape scene that they insisted on. Lindsay Ellis, the woman playing that part, had to make noises that would be used for voiceover later. So it's silly at best. In the best possible case, if you really have a mindset of, oh, but this is not really happening, Phantom Strider is the worst reviewer. You have said that, sure. I don't agree with you, but sure, I understand. And that's the case. Now, the reason why I had, because this is really a conflict for me right now, and it made me think of the whole issue. It made me revisit the issue. When you read about how people were left on a hot room without water, they had to be told, yeah, you have to have water for the people waiting to shoot. And when you hear that Doug Walker was responsible for shooting one day, he knew that the camera crew had to leave early, and he didn't pass on the information, and everybody had to scramble at the last time. And the big compensation was that he bought everybody a sandwich for just so they could eat, because they didn't have any way of getting to where they would eat or something. It's really conflicting. It's like when you hear that, why you exit last Portuguese live. Why I left? Because my internet went down. The whole region, apparently. It's really odd to say this, but it's working fine now, and I didn't turn off the other computer as I usually do. But then it seems to be working just as fine. So I really don't know why it has these problems. But last time it just went off. I figured I would go back. No, it was the whole region had a problem. I'm really considering not using this provider anymore because, yeah. But yeah, what do you think about that multiplayer? What would you do if you knew that something you loved was created by a horrible person? Yeah, that's my conflict right now. I was very fast to say Samurai X was okay and you could watch it because the guy was arrested, and now I'm considering not watching Nostalgia Critic anymore. One of the things that comes into consideration is that, yeah, some people, like they said that also people were calling them children when they complain about these things. I can't say they were children or anything if one of the complaints is getting water. It's like, God damn it, why do you need to be reminded to give people water? But one of the things that came to mind is that they were paid in how do you exposure in a lot of cases. So that means they don't actually get paid. They have the opportunity of being in a big website, so you can get an audience. Linkara himself says he was incredibly fortunate at the time, and he's incredibly fortunate now to have an audience that he can continue. I always watched him on YouTube because that's where I found him out. And when I see that, for instance, Nostalgia Critic is not a channel, Channel Awesome is a channel, and they have a million shows, I immediately knew they were trying to push stuff anchored at him. He is the draw. And I didn't want to watch any of the other shows. I watched the ones that had him, like Pop Quiz Hotshot. And then now we're learning that the company has a warehouse, but they don't invest in the sound, whatever, sound managing needed. There needs to be some protection and everything so it doesn't echo and stuff, and they didn't do that. So a lot of people are still recording in basically a break room. Nostalgia Critic to this day is filmed apparently in a break room and in common areas that should be freed for people to use, because they won't soundproof an area. It's just dumb, you know. And that's the company that I've been supporting unwillingly. I didn't know. Yeah, one of the things that came to mind is willfulness. Will is a primary verb in English. It's you keeping something because you want to, and that form of the verb, that meaning of the verb has not been used for a long time as much as it should have. That's the thing. Would I want to will it to continue? It doesn't need me, it has plenty of people. And there's going to be more people, of course. There's people who don't know about this fight and who are going to find out that there is this reviewer there. He's still good as a reviewer. I can't pretend that I don't like his reviews. But should I support someone who I know is a bad person, just because they can pretend to be a nice person in front of the cameras? This is the guy that made a positive message when Trump was elected, and oh, let's not give in to hate, but at the same time was forcing a rape scene, and was calling people children for not going along with it, and supposedly was forcing people to wear costumes because he thought the costumes are what made the previous movie funny. It's amazingly weird. to be in the situation. But I'm going to read your stuff now. The content don't have connection with the creator, literally. Conteúdo não será muito ligado ao criador. Biter is considered the worst reviewer of internet by much people. I don't know who Biter is. Yeah. Let me say this. A few months ago, a guy he calls himself, the channel is Weird Video Games, and he calls his nickname is He Is a Mad Genius. I wish I remember his name. He has a hilarious video, which is the worst movie ever, and he's done a second one. It was not as good. It was actually worse by not being as bad. But it's just a contest in which people have to act as certain characters, and you have to, with a straight face, make these characters, which are hilarious because they are horribly written. And now it's just dawning onto me, it's a parody of the movies they made. Those things that were written too fast and didn't give people enough time to practice, and people ended up having to do that immediately without preparation. That's what he's parodying. He's parodying what he went through, apparently. Which I believe was also his case. He was in Channel Awesome also. The other thing is that he had a video where he reviews a video game where you go to Cuba to basically end communism in Cuba. It's and there's a kidnapping or something. So he, in the middle of the review, shows himself as being kidnapped, and he stops everything and say, do I really have to do this? Do I really have to have a storyline and stuff? This is so basic. Every reviewer does that. And then he's shot, which to me is him saying, yeah, I just left, or I'm about to leave Channel Awesome. Why do I have to constrain myself to this formula? And I prefer to die. I would rather die than continue just following the formula and putting out content. It seems to me that he was just deliberately saying this is what's happening through his art. He just made a video on his channel and said, hey, I'm leaving Channel Awesome, not much to say, whatever. But then this thread, I should say, this Twitter thread happened on March the 8th, and it went on for two days of just people asking, and I didn't see it. I'm not a big Twitter user, and then I just saw now because of the Linkara saying he was leaving. He comes out and said, don't judge people who are staying there. They have their reasons. Maybe they don't have an audience and they need it. Maybe they have other personal reasons. So the feeling I get is that there are obviously problems. There are much trouble trying to get people to consider the reviewers and people who work and people, but that he didn't want to everybody to say, hey, it's a horrible place that shouldn't exist. Other content creators who have talked about it in this thread talk about horrible stuff, like people having to sign contracts on the spot, or people having to sign contracts a month before they were fired. And the contract saying stuff like you have to do this or you have to do that. That is basically against what they would do. So it seems to be a horrible company, and as much as I really would like to defend Doug Walker because he is an inspiration, it seems that in the very least he was a part of it. When he was responsible for shooting a bunch of stuff, he didn't care for his fellow creators. Worst content creators are the homophobic ones. Oh yeah, you remind me of something. There's a creator who was on the site apparently. When I got to know all these people, he was not anymore. Called Spoonie. Spoonie is actually a frequent guest, not a frequent guest, but an occasional guest in some of the reviewers' stuff. Not so much now, but he apparently is bipolar. Now, from what I've heard, okay, and I'm not outing him or anything like this, apparently they outed him. They mistreated him because of him being bipolar somehow. I don't know the details. It seems it was a very public thing years ago, and I don't know what's happened exactly. It reminds me of that because there is a couple of homophobic jokes in one of his earlier videos that, as I understand, at the time it wasn't seen as homophobic, or he didn't see it as homophobic and he would have improved. I don't know. I know that I loved his Ultima series. It's very good. I've watched it more than once. And I would like to see more content from him, but nowadays he just does lives and riffs on stuff or just plays a game, and it's not really my style. I don't like to watch lives anymore. I used to watch a couple, like Markiplier did a live every month, and I try to follow that, but not really anymore. Content creators like Saberspark are bad. I don't know Saberspark either. It's like, this is what I mean by you watch religion kids cartoons. I've seen commentary of it, and I ended up using some, I don't remember the creator, I don't remember the origin, but some part of it, because just how absurd it was comical, so absurd it was, that it's two kids, the name is Two Kids, and it's just how Christian is right, and they say something like, oh, it's the girl comes home, or the boy comes home, and says that one of his friends has two moms, and the mother gets worried. The mother seems to be a rip-off of the of Elastigirl, you know, Mrs. Incredible, and she starts saying how, oh, there are rules. Imagine if you try to go on a plane and you didn't go through all the rules and stuff. It's like immensely stupid. It's so ridiculous that I put Osama bin Laden from Family Guy laughing at that. But yeah, you hear about stuff. Religion Kids Cartoon. Saberspark is a top 10 reviewer, okay. VeggieTales, one cartoon about Christian vegetables, have one remake on Netflix. Yeah, I've heard of VeggieTales, I never watched it. There's another one, there was one that really infuriated me, which was, I don't know if you remember, there was a popular, like, kind of cubic kind of character that people used to make paper crafts of them. They just printed and made them. So they made an animation with those characters, and it was a Christian song for kids. Something on the note of a good Christian is the one who really tries to convert everybody, and a good Christian is one that never misses church, and just indoctrination is goddamn. So make a review of a religious cartoon. I might one day. I have a couple of religious comic books that I bought explicitly because they are cheap, so I didn't give these people a lot of money, and they are religious, so they are obviously wrong. You know, it's, I had an experience once where some guy, I was going to my English course in Madureira, and I was reading a comic, and some guy just sat next to me and started to talk about how comics are great, but the Bible is great. And there are comic versions of the Bible and stuff. And I didn't want to say fuck off. So I just nodded and yeah, okay, yeah, and then waited for him to get the hint and get away. But that didn't happen for over half an hour. It was a good 45 minutes. And I'm like, what the hell? What the hell is wrong with this guy? I get it. You actually think you're doing a good thing, but I'm not responding to it. Stop it. So yeah, there's always that distortion. I know there's going to be some there. Okay. The worst religion cartoons are the Canção Nova cartoons. Yeah, I can imagine. It's like one of the churches is called Bola de Neve, a snowball. Why would you call that in the middle of Brazil? Brazil is hot as hell. You're literally saying your church will not last. But they have. They've done that. Anyways, that was my point with all of this. It's very conflicting. I would like to... What would you do if you... What's your favorite... I don't know, Tom and Jerry you like a lot. What if you tomorrow learned that, I don't know, Chuck Jones or Hanna and Barbera were pedophiles? What would you do? How would you feel? You know, that's my conflict right now. I can't say that Nostalgia Critic, that Doug Walker, the person, that the Doug Walker and Rob Walker are good people if they did this. I would really, really hope that they have since moved on and just not let themselves do this. And mind you, I have a big problem with a couple of... I like the cartoons, but I don't like the creators. No, yeah, now, after years and years, it's easy to say that. What about a current cartoon? Yeah? Like, there's another thing, I was discussing this with my wife, is Steven Universe. Apparently, there is a lot of fetishism that gets tossed around in the production of Steven Universe. One of the things that is suggested is that Rose Quartz is a gigantic woman because the guy who wrote that particular episode has a fetish for gigantism, I think is the name. And at that point I don't really care. It's just, for me, it doesn't make any difference. To me, it's the same. But then there are things like Rebecca Sugar having drawn Ed, Edd and Eddy hentai. Or other people, another person there apparently drew hentai of Ed, Edd and Eddy, but it was rape and it was bloody. That concerned me a lot. And what I've come to, my conclusion in all this, and again, anybody who sees this in the future, I would like your opinions. My conclusion in all this is that will is a primary verb. Do you will it to continue? Liking Tom and Jerry makes no difference right now because they were not created now. Blue Cat Blues is not my favorite Tom and Jerry cartoon. Blue Cat Blues is the one where he commits suicide, right? Like, I don't have a problem with that. I do feel that some people might be triggered, but that's a personal issue. It's not the same as, for instance, Doug Walker insisting on somebody having to be raped. Rape is very much something that happens because somebody is forcing themselves in somebody else. It's not like suicide, which can be a moment of weakness. You know, a person who can rationally think this is a horrible thing can have a moment of weakness and and commit suicide, but no person can have a moment of weakness and force themselves on another. It's very different. You watch Modern Ben 10? I've seen a couple of episodes because it was on, my kids were watching, and they commit suicide. Yeah. So here's the thing. When I watch, for instance, Lindsay Ellis and her essays, he's an essayist more than anything now, there are some very interesting things. And one of the things that I really appreciate is that she calls herself a feminist, but she is not a I am going to repeat everything feminist. She has her own ideas and her own interpretation of things. I will not agree with her all the time. Like, she had a video where she apologizes for the woman who wrote Breaking Dawn. Twilight. Breaking Dawn is the last book, I think. Twilight. She apologizes to the woman who wrote Twilight because it was not worse than other things. Yes, that's not a good enough reason to have to apologize. Unless, of course, you're making a study on how you should apologize to all the people you you criticized before. And then you can have something, but I wouldn't agree with. And in the Two Musketeers, Tom is dead is killed in the guillotine. Yeah, I remember that one. That was not a good joke. That was not a joke. It was just misery. One of the things they say is that Doug and Rob believe they got the essence of comedy in misery. Every comedy comes from misery. So they will stretch that definition to no end to get people to do what they want them to do. Like puns are some sort of misery. And I remember in one video, Doug says that a funny face is mocking people who are ugly. I mean, no, not really. You make a funny face. It's funny not because it's ugly, but because it's unusual, I guess. Or it's funny because it's unexpected when you do it. It's not because, oh, you look ugly. Not really. There are very much possible ways of... there are many possible ways of getting ugly and not being funny. It's so... yeah. And until a certain point, until recently, before all this, I kind of took it as a non-literal statement. Oh, everything needs misery means somebody would get hurt in that situation and you can't care about them, just remember it's not real. No, they seem to think that, yeah, everybody should be miserable wearing costumes because that misery is going to make it funny. Or Lindsay Ellis should be raped because she would be miserable and miserable is funny. And that just doesn't work. Like there being no punchline to that guillotine. The guillotine there just kills Tom. You don't get anything from it. So I have those issues with Lindsay Ellis. I have the same issues, for instance, with Kyle Green, the guy who does Browse Held High. He recently took up to always saying death to fascism when he tweets anything. Like, happy birthday to this person, death to fascism. Which sounds good, but as a matter of fact, right now, a lot of what's being called fascism is not fascism, is different opinions. Like, I can easily see people saying Trump is a fascist because he ran on imposing stuff and has said that he is going to impose stuff, which is, it's not fascism per se, but it's very close. So okay, we're stretching the definition a bit. But no, there are Antifa members attacking speakers who are not opposing anti-fascism sentiments. It's very silly. Uh, Sargon of Akkad is one guy I hear a lot, who shows how horrible SJWs can be at times, and they will say, oh, he's a fascist because he doesn't like social justice warriors. No, he's not a fascist because of that. He's not even saying they can't speak. He's saying they don't make sense. Look, there was a panic in all over the world, in universities, basically people saying, hey, I want to feel at home here and I don't want to have to worry about the real world, and you are not making this happen. That means that you are bad. And I don't know why, but the majority of people who disagree with this kept quiet. And that's why I very much appreciate Sargon of Akkad and the Armored Skeptic and so on and so forth, because they come out and say, no, you can't yell at you can't yell at the principal, or in that case was a dean. You can't yell at the dean of the university and just expect him to walk away, which they did, because they really, I don't know why they did. They really shouldn't have. But they probably thought, hey, if the students don't cooperate, the university won't run, which is a problem, of course. But if you were fired by that very reason, he would be in court and get money for being fired without a reason. That's how the world works. You don't get to go to an institution and say, I would like you to have non-white people spaces. No, you don't. You can absolutely claim, hey, these people are not being included here, you have to force inclusion. You cannot force exclusion, you cannot be a racist, but this is what's happening. So we need people like Sargon of Akkad to talk about this and show the news and show how ridiculous it all is. And people like Kyle Colgreen just reduce it to, if you are not with us, you are against us, and the conversation doesn't move forward. So yeah, I am very much, I was very close to not watching any other videos of him, and when I watched the one about voiceovers, yeah, in the back of my mind it was always, it's that idiot. It's that idiot who wants to exclude people. It's that idiot who actually thinks that he is smart at the same time that he says, don't listen to other people because you might disagree with them. It's dumb. It's very dumb. Misery comedy to me punish a character to do comedy is not funny. No, yeah, I don't think it is. That's the thing. When they say comedy comes from misery, I think the idea is that the reaction to misery can be humorous, which it can. I was thinking of this example. There was some time ago, I slipped and fell on the stairs of a train station not too far away from here. I slept, my shoes were worn out, and I fell and my back hurt like hell. I can absolutely understand why other people would laugh at that. It's probably funny to them. But to me, it's not. And I don't think I should ever censor somebody from doing that as a joke. I'm not a SJW idiot, but I will not laugh at that myself. I find it kind of humorous now after the fact, but yeah, the reaction can be humorous. How you handle it can be humorous. But that's not to say that the misery is the funny part, because it isn't. A lot of bad comedy that really doesn't work, operates on this idea that the misery is enough. I was talking about this with my wife too. I Hate Everything reviewed the Smosh movie and I saw it. Like, apparently the very first joke, is that when they are at the airport, there's a homeless guy eating his own shit. That's not funny, that's disgusting. Now, the characters react somehow and they throw up. It could be funny. It's kind of been done already, but could be funny. They just say, "Oh, whatever, man, do whatever you want," and the guy just gets lost on this. Could be funny. But just eating shit, which is the joke, it's not funny. It's not a joke. You are just saying that somebody has a mental illness, that they actually want to eat their own shit. And that's okay. That's funny. Let's laugh at it. Let's point and laugh. No, it isn't. I'm sorry. Is there a doctor in the Mouse Head misery comedy? What is the date from the new live in Portuguese? Saturday, as always. I do intend to make a live in English on Friday, you know, as I was going to do. I just did this fast because I saw this, I was in the middle of conflict and I wanted to vent this and put it out. Felix the Cat, I have watched it. I remember seeing the second series a lot as a kid, but I don't really remember it very well. You know, Master Cylinder and the, you know. I watched the last series, I think it's the last series, where the opening is 3D and stuff. And I kinda liked it. It's kind of inventive, but then again, it goes nowhere. So, end of the day, they are not good episodes because they have singular interesting moments, but not a good episode end of the day. Who is the best Disney? What is the best Disney movie in your opinion? I'm going to say Beauty and the Beast, even though it's not a perfect movie. Yeah, like if you think of the animated one, not the new one. The animated movie actually fixed a lot of problems in the original story, like the rose being related to the enchantment suddenly means that when somebody is going to touch the rose, the beast can get angry. They have a reason now. In the original story, it's just somebody plucks a rose and, oh, any rose, just do. Oh, how do you do this? How horrible, and everything. Is there a doctor in the mouse? Is the Tom and Jerry episode, or Jerry makes a potion and eats all the Tom's food? The one where he gets super speed, is that it? I think I know. But yeah, I just wanted to vent about this whole situation. I am tempted to say that I won't watch Nostalgia Critic, but I really don't want to stop watching it because they are good reviews. Yeah, super sweet, okay. But at the same time, I don't want to support this kind of company and this kind of people. Oh, I touched the thing. So, I found a new enjoyment in Lindsay Ellis when she left the site, because she reinvented herself, and I still think it's much more interesting. I can watch her talking endlessly. Hell scenario, no. I hit the plug for a second, so it went off and on. She reinvented herself and it was interesting, but at the same time, there was a bunch of reviewers that I never cared for, and they did get some of my attention because of the channel, because of the website and the connection. I do not understand all of the things that happened, and I absolutely understand that some people are going to stay there because they need people to watch them. They need an audience, so they need Channel Awesome for a while, but I can tell you something. I went to that website a couple of times and I have never gone again because it's clearly not well kept, and I have no intention of doing so. I much prefer to use YouTube. Steven Universe worst episode in your opinion? For me, it's Finger Cats. Yeah, Finger Cats is okay. I have to say the last season they had those episodes where he's just moping around because he was an idiot and he doesn't want to understand what he did wrong. Those are really bad. I mean, I've seen this. He had an episode where he was technically younger. He was more inexperienced, and he chose not to be an idiot. He chose to not do the macho thing and be open and say, hey, we can defeat them together if we practice and stuff. And then now he just gives up and goes off in a ship with the horrible Aquamarine Topaz, which was kind of interesting after the story was given. And yeah, it's kind of stupid. Why would you do that? Why would you stop the story whole just to do that? Steven was a little jerk in the end of season 3, but they don't have any option in that situation. No, look, that's the thing. They wrote themselves into a corner, maybe, but it's their fault. They wrote it. Yeah? They like to storyboard it without writing it before, and fine, whatever. Like, one of the criticisms I heard about the show is that the characters are very off model very frequently. I don't really mind that, you know, not that much. Another is that every villain is more manly. I don't exactly see that, but it's not impossible. Like, Jasper is certainly manly, but to me it was just that woman happens to be manly. And Peridot was taller and shooting things, and then now she's a good guy, so she doesn't have a gun and she is not as tall. Kind of silly. Worst MLP episode for me is Ponyville Confidential. That episode of the school journal. I don't like the torture. School journal. Is that the one where they keep inventing things and are finding bad things about other people and just using gossip? I think that is. Yeah, that's pretty bad. I kinda don't like the one where they present the zebra, because the whole episode is everybody believes that this person is bad because it's different, and then in the end, hey, we shouldn't be racists. And that's it. Everybody just learns the lesson. It's like very empty for me. It's kind of like when people say color blindness doesn't work because you leave people to be hated on. I don't think that's actually true, but you can leave people to be hated on, like in that episode. But okay, I just wanted to vent this and get this off my chest. If you ever watch this, leave your comments. Biddle Grossip, the Zikora Zebra episode is most boring MLP episode. Could be. Okay. I just wanted to vent this. Leave your opinions. Should you support art made by horrible people? I don't know what I'm going to do, to be honest. I am flip-flopping on it. I don't think I can watch Nostalgia Critic thinking of Doug and Rob doing these horrible things, but at the same time I can't say that I believe they are doing those horrible things now. I do think they are complicit and they should come clean and come out and say, yeah, at that point I did this and I shouldn't have. But at the same time, if tomorrow they said that, I would be right there, no question. So yeah, I wouldn't be honest in saying that I'm not tempted to watch them. Yeah, anyways, thank you, and thank you multiplayer, because you came, and I don't know if anyone else is going to come here, but thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye. No.